this computer.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Unite Show.
Yay!
My name is Crystal, and this is my partner, Shine. He's very excited about today's episode. We're tuning in on the Unite Show live every Thursday at 6:15 Pacific Standard Time. You can find all the links at www.unite.love. That's where you can find us on our platform. And tonight we have a very special guest. Every week we have different special guests. And tonight we are talking, the subject is making contact. And we have our wonderful guest speaker with us.
Alan Steinfeld from NewRealities.
Yay, Alan, thank you so much for being here. The way this evening is going to go is we're going to do a little intro from Alan. We're going to hear a little bit about him and what he's up to. And then we're going to make sure we leave lots of time for your questions and his answers and community time as well. So there'll be time at the end where you can share any projects or things you're working on, offering. You'll be able to share the links in the chat. And yeah, we can maybe make some awesome connections for you, support your projects and what you're doing, and together we can uplift, co-create, and make some magic tonight. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I don't know what you're doing, Shine, but it's making me dizzy.
Right.
Yeah, welcome. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And are you done messing with the screens?
We're just trying to go live on Facebook. It's not working.
And we're trying to go live on everything, and not everything is working. So we love you technology. You can tune in on Facebook and Instagram. So if you're not able to stay for the full show, don't worry. We're going to be posting the recording on YouTube as well. So you can find us on our Unite on YouTube as well. And Shine's still working on a little connection here.
So
would you like to move on to our intro with Alan, and then you can...
I just wanted to make sure we go live before we start.
Okay.
Sorry. I should have done this at the beginning. I forgot.
Thank you, everyone, for your patience.
It's not working. We'll leave it.
Okay,
we're here.
Amazing. Yay. Okay. So now we would like to move on and hear from Alan. If you would like to say a little hello, and yeah, thank you for being here. Oh, we can. Oh, there we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Smooth and clear. That's the that's communication. That's why we're here on the planet, is to communicate with each other, and keep more sophisticated ways to talk to each other from further and further distances, I have to say. But anyway, and we'll be talking about that in terms of making contact, because we are here. There's something happening on this planet now that we are definitely being visited, and we have to wake up to the fact that this isn't science fiction. You know, we are so programmed to think of aliens, extraterrestrials as something strange, something you see in the movies, something we're taught to be afraid of, or taught to I guess just be surprised about, or not even taught to believe they exist. There's something here besides us human beings that is intelligent, that is interactive with the nature of reality. And we've been brainwashed to ignore this whole other thing that's going on. And now something's speeding up, something's accelerating. Maybe the time flow, maybe the fifth dimensional reality, but this presence, whatever this is, and I don't know, I can't say they're Syrians or Pleiadians. I mean, a lot of people put names on them, and that's great for those people, but nobody in my investigations of this book, Making Contact, which is a collection of essays by the best people, best researchers and experts in the field, everyone has their own point of view. That's just my opinion. And no one has the whole truth. So I put together this collection in this book. Okay, what are all those points of view? And maybe if we looked at them all together, like a mosaic, you ever look at a mosaic up close, you can't really tell what it is. But if we stand back, we get a picture of a bigger reality. So that's my intent. That was my intent in making this book and talking about this book, is, thank you for that heart, thank you, is presenting many, many views, because if there was a right view, maybe the government would tell us. Maybe the reason they're not telling us is because they don't know what's going on. Maybe they know a little piece. Yes, they want technology. Yes, they want weapons. But are they talking about the consciousness level? Are they talking about the interfacing of who we are. I think essentially we are the extraterrestrials. We, us humans, we are different than all the other animals on the planet. We build houses. I mean, some animals do that, but we decorate them. You know, we put things on the wall. We have these little photo. I mean, we're so different. You know, we live in communities and we want to be alone. I mean, we're such strange animals. So, and we're able to do amazing things and make films and create technology. I mean, technology, it's like, I don't think there's a lot of animals making technology that will facilitate communication. So somehow we're different. And that difference is not an evolution of consciousness. It's a involution of consciousness. You know the difference? So we didn't, this mind, this brain that we have didn't evolve from single cells, multi-cells, amphibians, mammals becoming humans. I mean, that's evolution. And I'm not saying there isn't evolution. There absolutely is evolution, but the mind, the consciousness, the sentience actually descended into the body from somewhere. So you're evolving the body and consciousness, the field, whatever this thing is that we are, descended into form, and it descended into more and more sophisticated forms until we get to us, which is the semblance of sentience, Homo sapiens sapien, you know, beings that know that they know. And that's the extraterrestrial part. That's the part that is non-local. So when I teach remote viewing, you know what remote viewing is?
Yeah.
Everyone, 90% of the people in the class are able to get the target that is not here. So I say a friend of mine's at this location. I don't say where. Can you see where they are? 90% of the people do. And they get, I mean, you see, when the people remote view, they're not, it's a right brain thing. So they're not saying a specific location, but they're drawing images. Pictures are the language of the right brain. Words are the language of the left brain. We're much more right brain than we think, but we're much more programmed by our logical linear mind than we know. So I make a big distinction in teaching remote viewing between accessing this other perception and putting the mind out of the way from what we think we know. You know, I think it was Werner Erhard who said the logical mind is really the idiot. It doesn't know anything. It just thinks it does. It's the right brain that really has the intuitive perceptions, the artist creativity. And that's the part that I'm saying is non-local. It's not of this world. So we have these two brains, left and right, and we're trying to live in these animal bodies, which is great, and evolve it to a collective society. So as we make contact with these other beings, the right brain, the non-logical way of thinking starts to be activated, because for some reason, logic can't understand the ET UFO phenomena. How can something be solid and then disappear into like gas or waves and particles? So we've created a real dilemma for ourselves, thinking that we can understand the world through logic. We can't understand it through logic. We can understand it through feelings and intuition and the abstract mind. I think quantum physics is much closer to the realities of these ETs than Newtonian physics. You know, we're running our world on Newtonian physics, which is 400 years old. You think we would have evolved by then. We need what quantum physics has to offer, which is the abstract mind, but we haven't quite understood exactly how to work with quantum physics techniques to power our world. But that's coming. So summing it up a little bit here in this first part of the program, making contact is making contact with the parts of ourselves that are intuitive, non-rational. It's the feminine versus the masculine, you know. And so, but we're here also to be whole brain. So it's the marriage of the hieros gamos, which is the sacred marriage of the male and female, the left and right brain. So we become whole brain beings and start to make contact with the others out there, with the earth, with the infinite nature of reality. That's what we're making contact with, all of it. And if we just stay in this narrow framework, we really aren't evolving. We're actually destroying the earth because we think we know everything and we could just throw our garbage everywhere. And we're not making contact when we do that. So the idea of making contact is to really evolve who we are as a whole person, available for cosmic downloads. And many people are. I mean, it's happening. It is happening. This is transition. So transformation. Okay. Does that make sense? Does any of it make sense?
I love it.
Super good.
You're my favorite kind of guest. You just come in, smash it, and just go for it. I love it. It's the best ever.
Yeah, well, what else is there to talk about?
I know. I was actually Deborah Giusti, who you probably know. She posted yesterday that she was at an event with Greg Braden, and that Greg was. Were you there?
There with Deborah was sitting right there next. Yes.
And she was saying how Greg was sharing this new scientific evidence that 200,000 years ago or so, our brains were deliberately, or our genes were deliberately played with in a way that can't be explained by traditional evolution. Do you want to share about that?
Well, yeah, it's actually in my book. So somewhere about 200,000 years ago, there was some, and there's it's in two places in this book, Making Contact. And you can get this book online. I'll put that book in the chat actually here. Actually, before you get in line, vote for my book at the Conscious Life Book Awards. So go there, fill out the form, put your email, and just say you like this book. It's about, I don't know, 30, 40 books there, but just a little self-promotion there. Okay.
It takes just a second. I did it. It's not like one of those like 10-page sign up things.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So we were sort of primitive apes along the way. This is the story. It's only a myth, you know, it's everything people say from history down to you know, religious doctrine. It's a story someone made up, you know. So what I mean, this is my opinion. So the story is that 200,000 years ago, there was this sudden upgrade to our genes, and we started farming and writing and speaking in more sophisticated language, and the possibly ETs came down and modified the evolving primates here to create us, Homo sapien, thinking humans, the fact to be not just thinking, we could think about what we're thinking about. That's the Homo sapiens sapien part. And that change, they think, happened 200 years ago when there was some upgrade to the neocortex, the new brain, the ability for abstract thinking. That's what makes humans different. And that's when the upgrade happened. Like, abstract thinking means, oh, I wonder what's over that hill. I wonder what happens if we, you know, make a fire and cook our food. So this was all an upgrade to human beings about 200,000 years ago. Everything shifted, and we started, I think, civilization, and, you know, the great civilizations, and writing and language and histories, and all that actually began there with this strange sudden upgrade to the primates. From, some people say the gods descended and merged with the evolving primates to make us. That's might be true. I mean, I'm just sort of reiterating the myths that people have taken as truth. And I'm saying, maybe they're true. It makes sense. Something did happen to our genetic pool that does not seem to be an evolutionary process, that we were somehow modified to be totally different than the primates that were here on the planet. So is that what you meant by Greg Braden's info? I was at that talk, but
Yeah, exactly. And I've really loved Matthias De Stefano's work on Gaia. Do you know him personally?
Well, I don't know him personally, but I heard he's doing great work. How would you sum up his work?
So I've listened to pretty much all of Bashar's content that I can get my hands on. I loved your interview with him. We shared that in our promo stuff. So if anyone just Googles your name and Bashar, amazing interview, one of the best I feel that he's done. And both him and Bashar have a very similar story that around I don't know the timelines, but I guess it would have been around 200,000 years ago if it's this same story that there was a group of Anunnaki who came down to mine gold because they needed the gold to fix their atmosphere, which was deteriorating. They found it to be too much work. So they found these primates that they thought could do some of the work with them. They gave them some upgrades so that they could be more intelligent, and that was sort of the beginning, and that it wasn't exactly sanctioned by their like higher ups, and it was sort of a whatever, and then over time they ended up leaving to sort of give us that space, and that there's some sort of Star Trekian code where aliens are not allowed to interfere with a planet once it's reached a certain level of intelligence, and there's a species that kind of have to leave it alone, and there's that quarantine time, and that we've kind of just come out of that, and now it's up to us to raise our vibration to be ready for contact.
Yeah, I think that might be true. I mean, all the myths, the Bible, the Garden of Eden, we were formed and thrown out of the garden to kind of evolve ourselves, or Prometheus like was a renegade god that gave us technology. But I think the Anunnaki, yes, I think the understanding that we were meant to be slaves to dig gold for the Anunnaki was a sort of metaphor that is still stuck in our brains, because the population is split between those that are going for gold, money, materiality, and those that are activating their divinity. So that's what the Anunnaki story is about. They made us like them, in the image of them, the Elohim, whatever you want to call them, as gods. We are the gods. And do we want to go and dig the gold for the Anunnaki, or do we want to develop our divinity like the Elohim? So it's those differences in lots of these stories that we're all still struggling with. We've created a society based on materiality, and yet some of us still put our attention towards a bigger picture, that there's more. And most of the world thinks, well, there really isn't any more. You just get a job, you get married, you have kids, you make as much money as you can, and that's it. And if that was all there is, then none of the metaphysical books, none of the mystic esoteric traditions would make any sense. Meditation wouldn't make any sense. This inner access to this divine being would just be an illusion. But everyone knows who've really meditated a little bit, if you go in, there's this whole world, the mystical world. It's not a dead end. It's full of possibilities. And I think we're all intelligent to know that these great traditions, these great secret traditions, these religious traditions, if you want to call it that, were full of deep truths. And you can discover that if you just, not totally divorce the digging for gold, but, put that second, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all things will be delivered unto you. There's some great truths out there. So yes, I go with that story, if that was the question.
Yeah. Well, if anyone else has thoughts or questions, please use the little reactions button to raise your hand, and that'll bring you to the top. And we'd love to hear from everyone on here. And I mean, there's so many. I listen and I love this stuff so much, so I could talk forever about it. What is the most like crazy cool story? Because I haven't read your book yet. What's the like the biggest aha, like crazy thing that you found in all of your time?
Well, something that happened to me, that these ETs, or whatever these beings are are able to freeze time. Bud Hopkins wrote a book called Missing Time in the 1980s, and that seems to happen to a lot of contactees. There's this time distortion. I mean, we think time is all the same, and you look at your clock and its clock is moving every hour, but there are beings and could freeze a moment in our time flow, take us out of this space. We'll have all this other experience in another time flow and put us right back to where they took us out. So it's as if to our mind, nothing happened, but yet we had all this other experience in this other time flow. And it's hard to understand that, but a lot of people, I'm not just making that up. There's a lot of people who report that this time-space distortion. I mean, people are abducted out of their cars, and then they're like Betty and Barney Hill, which is one of the older stories. They were taken while they were driving, or they stopped actually, but then they came back into their car and the car was moving. So it's like we have to become more lucid in our altered states. I don't mean drugs, I mean dream-like states, in order to meet these beings on the level of reality that they function on. Like dreams have that distorted reality. Like if you watch the motion in your dreams, you could have this whole thing in just a matter of seconds if you watch your dream. So there's something about this altered state, and that's how they appear to many people within their dreams. If you had a dream about ETs, you probably never forgotten it. It's probably not a dream at all. So because dreams are like, mostly, oh, they fade. What was that I dreamt? But I mean, has anyone here haven't had an ET dream? Does anyone want to raise their hand where it was a beings in their dream and they've got a communication or some kind of I don't know, interface, or you saw some images? I mean, you don't forget those dreams. So what I'm saying is this altered state that has to do with the distortion of time throws us out of our ordinary reality, and we are not conscious enough, or at least I'm not. Some people are. Some people are more conscious in this altered state than I am. But if you can be, then you'll see this overlapping of time flows. There's this time, and then there's this other time that's happening, and this dream time that the Aborigines talk about. So that, if you ask what the strangest part, that's did any of that make sense to you?
Yeah, that's brand new to me. It
It
kind of bends your mind a little bit.
It is a mind bender. Even if you listen to what Bob Lazar, you know who Bob Lazar is?
Mhm.
He said that they had and I found this after I wrote my chapter about this time, I call it a time mold, where they mold your whole presence in a flow and take you out, and that's what happened to me, I think, and then put you back into that mold exactly where you came out. But he said he was at Area 51, Area 51, and he saw this alien technology in this room, and they turned this thing on. There was a candle burning in that room on a table, and the candle flame just froze there. It's like froze in time, that candle flame. I mean, I don't understand it. I don't understand how that's even possible. But if you listen to even Einstein, he said time and space are an illusion. They're concepts of which we live by, but they're not the world in which we live in. I mean, on another level, these are avatars. These bodies are avatars of a consciousness that is non-local. We're not really here. These things are like the screen, like the picture on the screen. Like I would think, oh yeah, you're really inside this little screen there, but you're not really inside the screen. In the same way, you're really not inside that little face of yours, Crystal. Yes. It's a nice picture, but it's not you. Okay.
I love it. Kaisa, you have your hand up.
Yes. Yeah, and I know people have experienced, if there's a crisis or danger that we can do superhuman things, or we can see. I had this, I wanted to do something, a really bad thing. I was very triggered, and there was like this no going through my body, and I presume it was a guide. And I saw what would happen if I did the thing I was going to do. And it would have taken a while to do it. And there would have been a mess to clean up. So I saw the whole thing and I didn't do it. And it actually, no time passed, but lots of time in a different time passed.
I'm glad you didn't chop up someone's body. Thank you. It's
Actually, there was this rage, and that was, yeah, it was actually, and then I thought, oh no. And then I had this whole interesting conversation, but because, well, that's not efficient and it's a very messy thing. And I may have to do jail time. No, been there, done that another lifetime. No, I'm not going to do that this time. So I didn't do it because it wasn't sensible.
seems like a very nice person. You know, Shakespeare says your if, your if is your only peacemaker. Your ability to imagine can take the place of all those awful things we think about doing. So your if, but that's great. And yeah, we can compress time, we can accelerate, especially if you want to get somewhere, you think it's going to take you a long time. If you really put your intention, it seems like, wow, time compresses. So we actually have that ability that I'm talking about. We just think it happens, but I think we actually do have much more ability than we've been dumbed down to think we are. We can actually manipulate and control reality. People have moved storms away from their place by intending it. So we have to then start a school, mystery school, ancient school of wisdom that will allow us to use our minds to its greater capacity and making contact. Right now, I'm starting a course on January 31st about making contact through remote viewing with ETs. I'll put that in the chat too. It's lightnet.org, and there's lots of ways people are making contact. Some people are doing through channeling. Oh, LightNet, sorry, that's not right. Lightnet.org. Does that come up when you tune into that, when you click on that? So I'm starting you got that? And look for the remote viewing section, and that's me holding remote viewing classes. And what I say, do you know what remote viewing is? Shine, Crystal, can you tell, what do you know? Tell us.
Remote viewing? Well, I heard about it through like the army exercises where people were trained to spy on other countries, and they could sort of tune into a Russian military base and actually like see like keystrokes or like very specific things, and basically like bilocate and be somewhere else at the same time as they're in their body.
Well, they don't actually bilocate the way I understand. They can project their mind, and the really great ones can actually see keystrokes or written documents, but everyone has a facility to extend their mind somewhere, and it's not imagination. This is the key point that I try to bring out in the class. We think we're imagining it, but if you can get out of the way and direct your intent somewhere else, like it can say, like, what do I have in my pocket here? And I do this in the class, and there's actually a video of me learning it with one of the founders of the remote viewing program at Stanford Research Institute, Russell Targ. You can play along, and Russell says, I have something in my pocket. And now the more people do it, the more people get that target just because it's in the field. It's like the 100th monkey effect. But how does this happen? How are we able to actually perceive things that are not in our immediate world? And that's the mystery. But that's what I'm saying is the ET part of us. That's why I'm saying we're not local, because everyone can do it. And I'm always shocked at people coming in and say, yes, we can do it. So the class that I'm doing, the Making Contact class, is if we can train everyone to do remote viewing with objects that we know and locations we know. I say, okay, there's a picture here or up on my computer. I'm not showing it to them. What is it? Where are we? And then they draw it with their right brain. They don't name it. As soon as you name something, you're in the logical mind. But if you feel into it and you get all the clues, and then you really fill up from this right brain perception what you're receiving, then maybe you have the ability to name it. So I'm working with Dr. J.J. Hertak a lot. Do you know who he is?
Is that whose house you're staying at? Who wrote the Keys of Enoch?
The Keys of Enoch, and he's also written a book. This woman Dia knows it. So I'm staying in his home briefly, and I'd love to just invite him on to say something about
Yay!
Viewing work and his work with. Let me just take off my background, and the work he's doing is so valuable to the planet, and he's could be another little guest surprise. This is Dr. Hertak here, and and tell him what you've been.
Welcome.
AJ Hertak.
Well, we've been working on the roadmap of putting together the physical sciences, the biological sciences, and the astrophysical dimensions of where we're going in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And now with the disclosures of leading astronauts, remote sensing experts,
Mm-hmm.
and archaeological findings in the Middle East, and of course, all throughout Asia, we know we're much older as a human species.
Right.
And we're just beginning to open our eyes to the vast and awesomeness of the universe. But what I wanted to put in praise of Making Contact, Ellen's remarkable work, is the fact that you invited me to share some details of what I brought out to the public in 1979. And if you check his chapter 3, I speak of an event in Mexico City in July of 1979, where I actually showed pictures of several of the ET specimens to the world audience, the Japanese, the Latin American newscasters who were there, and also representatives from North America. An amazing conference that was really the smoking gun, recognizing that we're not alone in the universe, but there are different cosmic cultures at our doorstep. Right. And we have the opportunity to have this aired in the front page announcements of Excelsior, Novedades, and some of the even the English-speaking newspaper called The News goes into significant details of the specimens. And so you did a great service in allowing me to bring forth this information. So we're going from page 1 really to the editorial that needs to be written in the New York Times, as well as the Washington Post and other leading journals, that we have to make decisions very quickly. If the government does go ahead and release information later this year and next year, we have to look at the psychological and sociological response mechanisms so that people are not alarmed or afraid of their future, but understand that this is part of the evolutionary quest to realize that we are part of a much greater biodiversity in the universe, and that we have really the consciousness and what some will call the spiritual gifts of seeing that we can navigate without loss of fame or fortune, shall we say, the futurism of human society, which is the destiny we have in space.
Yeah, we're at the edge of an incredible threshold of welcoming our cosmic family to this planet. And Dr. Hertak has been one of the pioneers and visionaries who saw what was coming and is preparing us for this time.
I'd like if we could turn the camera around from our side to show this remarkable picture one of the great Canadian artists made for me. This was already in the
go ahead.
The late 1970s. We can hold this up.
I don't know if they're going to see it because we're going to lose the signal there.
With this
No,
necessary,
it's not. But we're going to lose the
you can see
signal.
a pillar of light in the foreground of
Okay, I don't want to lose the signal.
British or
Let me-
threefold art painting. And on the far side,
Mhm.
if you can move around, you see an astronaut
Do you, s-
connected with the downing of the space shuttle.
do you see that?
In the background, on what I would say right side,
You can see
that's
it.
the space shuttle on its side. And this painting was before really the Challenger disaster,
Mm.
which was using what I will call remote sensing to see into the future, that there would be a fatal accident of the space shuttle. In the opposite end, you see the ocean activity, ocean dynamics
Mhm.
of climate change, that the oceans were going to rise and there would be horrific storms on the ocean fronts of the world. But in the midst of this, you see a pillar of light, what I call not an extraterrestrial, but an ultra-terrestrial being of higher intelligence. That is to say, one who has evolved beyond technology,
Mhm.
that represents what we will call the dimension of the avatar, or the higher dimensional intelligence coming down and helping those of the human race who insights, the consciousness, creativity that's necessary.
Yeah. So that's some of the work that JJ has been a part of, which is, and the ascension process. I think that's what these ETs are here for, to show us that we are of the cosmos. It's what goes back to that original statement. We're not evolved. That first question about 200,000 years ago, the upgrade was the evolutionary spark that ignited the divinity in us, and to show that this world was a playground for our evolution. Does that make sense? Crystal, you have
Yes.
anything? Or
I love it.
It does. I like it a lot.
so, do you know the work of JJ Hertog? He wrote the book, The Keys of Enoch.
Which
I heard
is
about him. I heard about
Sorry,
him at
Helen?
first through Dr. Eric Pearl, who
Oh.
was
Dr. Pearl is one who's been able to take one of the 64 keys and bring it out worldwide, has allowed thousands, needless to say, hundreds of thousands of practitioners to use their spiritual and their medical insights and what I would call natural gifts for healing,
Mhm.
and open the door to humanity taking a step forward without having a big caste register between the human race and the divine spark, by saying we all have this healing talent and ability. So Carlos Santana also has taken the keys for his new music,
Mm.
and so on and so forth throughout the world, leading thinkers behind the scenes, leading scientists, and even one of the astronauts that I work with, Gordon Cooper, told us that in his book, Leap of Faith, that the government has to come clean. We have to recognize, as President Truman did, that there is indeed evidence that this technology on our doorstep is from a different level of cosmic intelligence. So to bring all this together, Alan is going to continue his great work in making contact. All of us have to play a very positive role now with this information that the American authorities, the European authorities, and who knows, possibly from China and Japan, we will have evidence that we're not alone, and that we have to, shall we say, teach a different type of civics that is really an outward awareness of stewardship, of service to humanity, and I would call a higher type of spirituality that is not restricted to simply a simplistic dogma that does not reach the human heart of compassion. We have to see that this is a very important time and era that we're going into, and all of you watching this program have a role to play as citizen diplomats. What does that mean? It means that we all have a role to be positively aware of challenges that are going to increase, climate change scenarios that also increase, but we are the bridge between the old and the future.
Right.
And that bridge must be strong, it must be happy, it must be joyous. So my wife, who is not here with me right now, but what's basically is with Alan and myself, salute all of you. So
Thank you.
carry on the good work. Taking care of yourself.
Thanks,
taking
Doctor.
care-
I will see you for dinner in a little while.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
that was so fun. What a treat.
Yes, that was a treat. No, JJ Hertog is the author of The Keys of Enoch, which is the most amazing multi-dimensional book. that has been written. It takes place on many, many levels. And he did that 50 years ago, and it's still prophetic in its wisdom. So I recommend looking it up. Maybe some people have heard of that, and he's a good friend, and he contributed to Making Contact. So yeah, I like hanging out with him because he's a visionary and understands that we are at the threshold of this new time, this new place, this new adventure. And just like the upgrade that was done 200,000 years ago, I think there's another upgrade that's coming to us.
Ooh.
You know, and it's like the caterpillar and the butterfly, right? We're at that level where we're going to be transformed into a species that we have yet to recognize, but we can only imagine.
Love it.
Yeah, so I mean, I know that's all over the place, but we are infinite beings, and this is what I think the ultimate goal of Contact is to wake us up to who we really are. I mean, I don't think they're going to invade our planet, take over, whatever people's fear. I mean, yes, there are abductions, I have to say, and that's not pleasant. It's a little traumatic, and people have, but, if I have to be the father of an alien race, that's okay,
Yeah.
No, actually asked Bashar about that. You remember that part of the interview where I said,
Yeah.
and he said, yes, you're my great, 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 great grandfather or something like that. And there is actually within the Contact community, there is a lot of objection to, having our genetics taken. It's like, and Bashar says, and there's some disagreement within the Bashar community saying, he says, well, you made this agreement on another level. And other people say, well, I may have made an agreement then, but I'm not making it now. It's like, it's like going out on a date and then saying, well, you went out on the date, let's go home. It's like, I know I've changed my mind. It's like the cosmic me too. I don't want to be involved in that and that program anymore. So there's that little conflict debate that seems to be happening within the Contact community. Like, all right, maybe I agreed, but now I'm not agreeing. So I don't quite know where to stand on that, because I also think we've been upgraded in the exchange. I mean, this is a little deeper into the Contact whole story, but, I think we have been upgraded. Those that haven't had some sort of contact, like in the second chapter of the book by Grant Cameron, every chapter is written by a real expert, I consider really top in the field. The first chapter is Nick Pope, who works for the government, the British government, on covering up UFOs, and he talks about why. And the second chapter is by Grant Cameron, who says, no, UFOs are here for us. And if this is the part I was getting to in Grant Cameron's chapter, if you've seen a UFO, you are part of the phenomena. There are no innocent bystanders. You've seen it. They know you've seen it. You've been singled out, and some part of you knew that. And it's like, somehow you've been activated. Have you seen anything, Shine, Crystal? No?
Not that I know of. I know that we kind of thought we saw something while we were driving, but I've never really felt that, like, hell yes, oh my God, what was that?
All right, I'm going to see for you, okay? No.
Yeah, I can't wait.
But
Please.
yeah. Oh, go ahead. What were you saying?
Well, gosh, there's a couple things. One is I've heard this Bashar theory that the reason JFK was killed was that in an alternate reality, he disclosed that aliens existed, and it created a lot of bad things. And so we sort of shifted and went down a path where he didn't get to disclose that. And that was interesting.
Well, I don't know. There's so many different timelines. He may have disclosed and went down a really great timeline. I mean, I do think JFK knew. I think Eisenhower knew. I think Truman Truman, Eisenhower, Kennedy, and of course Nixon, who was Eisenhower's vice president, knew that they were alien. I mean, in 1952, before Truman left office, there were those that reports over the Capitol by UFOs. There's videos of that. There was the 1947 Roswell crash, where it was first said, yes, saucer land and crash in Roswell. And then it says, no, it was just a weather balloon. And they keep coming out with that weather balloon story. And it's just a little silly. The government has covered this up, what Steve Bassett calls a truth embargo, for at least 75, 76 years, since 1947. The reason, we're not sure. Did they cover up because they have technology that they want to give to their friends in private industry? Did they cover up because they think people would be too freaked out, which I don't think so. I think we're ready for it. Did they cover it up because they couldn't explain it? And if we're paying, this is the thing I think, if we're paying billions of dollars for a defense budget, and these things are getting through our defenses, why are we spending all this money on defense when we're defenseless? You know, so, but they're also nothing to be defended about. You know, they may come in and out of our airspace, but there hasn't been any real negative things. They haven't shot planes down that I know of. They may have abducted people, but they're always brought back to their place, and which is not great. But you know, we can't defend ourselves, first of all, against them, because they're probably 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000 years in advance of us. I mean, if they could bend time, space, and go faster than the speed of light, and our little rockets are like firecrackers, you know, like it's ridiculous to have a defense program. And also, are we defending ourselves against other countries? So, I mean, anyway, that whole thing, I think, is the real reason the cover-up exists, because they have to fuel, like Eisenhower said, if you ever saw his last speech before he left office, was the military-industrial complex. That is not a conspiracy word. That's a word Eisenhower used in 1960 in his farewell address to the U.S. Beware of the military-industrial complex. I'm not a conspiracy person necessarily. I don't go into, but I do think definitely there's a conspiracy to cover up the UFO phenomenon. I mean, just last week, the second report on UAPs, which are calling UAPs instead of UFOs. I have a whole theory about why, but they said, oh yeah, all they really said was, yeah, there was an original report, I think had 144 unidentified objects, which they didn't label as anything except other. You know, they said they weren't balloons, they weren't birds, they weren't material, they're just other. So there's 150 more of these other objects that they're refusing to name and refusing to say the A word or E word, extraterrestrial, because they've admitted this is not ours, it's not China, it's not Russia, it's not some rogue business guy investing all his money in these like incredible technology. No, these are off-planet or interdimensional, whatever you want to say, objects that are in our world. They're here. This is not science fiction. But when I say it, it sounds like science fiction, because my programming and all of us is through media that, you know, disconnects us from reality. I'm writing a paper about, and actually going to a whole conference about media and its illusions and disconnecting us from the world. So, but it's not science fiction. It's something like, going back to my original statements, that is beyond what we know and maybe beyond what we can know. Now, I don't think it is beyond what we can know. I think it's beyond what our brainwashing and conditioning and dumbing down and being stuck in the matrix has allowed us to know. But like I talk about remote viewing, it's like I'm shocked. People come in off the street or come and do the online course and they boom. And you know what? They don't know how they're doing it. I said, how'd you do that? And the right answer is, I don't know. When I say, okay, that's the right answer, because it's total right brain. And we've, of course, been disconnected from our right brains from the age of 5, because you know what happens at 5, right? You're taught ABC 1, 2, 3. There's nothing wrong with that. But all this other feeling is disconnected. No, yeah, maybe you'll do art for 1 hour a week or like, but the creative mind is what's connected to that right brain flow. We have to have a equal whole brain thinking where, yes, we need the logic to get us from A to B, but we need everything else to create the world as we want it to be. So we have to reactivate that other kind of thinking, and we have it. You know, pattern perception is one way. Music, you know, you're listening to music, there are no words there, but I mean classical, let's say, but you're following some kind of stream. That is a great exercise for right brain activation. And when you can do that, other ideas and thoughts come, you know. So there's so much to talk about, but we have to be in the upgrade. We have to get over being dumbed down. We have to realize the infinite possibilities and talents and gifts we have as superhumans, I mean, which is really basically human. So, and making contact, this acceleration, this threshold that J.J. Hurtak talked about, that we're on this threshold where we're becoming these new human beings, where contact is not a fantasy, but it's happening more and more. I get reports from all over the world. People, there's things happening. And it's not going to be, you're not going to read about it in the papers. Yeah, you might read like a little story, but they're mostly like laughing at it and say, oh yeah, haha. But no, the real people are making contact.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Okay.
Oh, no. I was just gonna add in, that's really neat what you're saying about, of course, mainstream education and for myself, I never went to school, so I was unschooled, and very creative, artistic family. And my dad especially really just taught me always to look at things creatively. He was an artist and musician, and my kids are now being unschooled as well. And just a funny experience, my son not going to school, we don't have a schedule that needs to be kept. So he wanted to explore not sleeping for a night. So he was up for 48 hours, he's 12. And he wanted to check out what that was like. And he was really enjoying the altered state that he had created. He said things were kind of shifting. He was going to open the door and he said, I know I haven't got to the door, but I've seen myself walking through it and already opening it, but I didn't do it. So he was really like, and because for me, I was raised, my mom, Kaisa, she's up there in the here on the call with the red bird behind her. So I was raised in a very open-minded, mom loves all this kind of stuff as well, a very open-minded family. And it's really neat to see my kids don't even, this is just like a fun it's nothing weird, it's nothing scary, it's nothing strange. It's just like, oh, look what's happening with my brain being in a bit of a different state. I can do these things that I couldn't do before. So I really do resonate with what you're talking about, and it's really going to be fun to see. I'm so excited to see for this next generation what kind of games they're going to get to play here.
He's a real mystic, your son. I mean, that's like a mystical sort of practice, is staying up and let yourself kind of go into these alternate realities. I mean, this is what they do in the ancient mystery schools. And he feels like he has that mind to open to the mysteries and be a real spiritual visionary. I bet he will be. How old is he?
He's 12 and a half, and he's a gamer. He loves video games, and he loves ones where he can create his own reality. And I love what Abraham Hicks talks about video games. There's a lot of conversations in the modern world about video games for kids, and it's something I've really looked into. And Abraham Hicks really talks about, it's actually the closest thing we have in the mainstream world to instant manifestation, where you can have a vision and you can create it and you can explore it and you can live in it. And that's what he absolutely loves, is creating his realities and getting to alter them in ways that he can't do yet in the physical world.
He will be able to do it. I mean, yes, Abraham, because don't tell him not to get too fixated on the game, because he'll miss the ability to put it into this world. Instant manifestation is extreme. So I think, up until a certain point, yes, this is how it works. And then boom, you go into the world, and then you set that same intention that you did in the game, and manifestation happens.
Yeah.
So and he is a mystic for sure.
Exactly. Yeah, we do all kinds of fun manifestation games, and I really love, again, what Abraham Hicks talks about. Just for me, I was a single mom for a long time with 2 little boys, and Abraham has had many useful supportive tools, and one of them was to say to your kids, don't tell them no, you can't have this. Never say no, because their wanting is what's bringing it into their world. But a thing she says, which I've used so often and is so helpful, is yes, let's manifest that. It's not going to come through me right now. I'm not going to buy you every toy you want, or go out and get you these, but let's manifest it. Let's call it in. Let's imagine it. Let's feel it. And the amount of things they've called in, people have just walked by and been like, I don't know why, I just had to give you this candy. And I was like, I'm not going to buy you candy. And they're like, people are just like, I just had this extra candy. Do you want? Like, it's really fun to see. And I let them know, I really reiterate when those things happen, that that's them doing that, and they're calling that into their reality, and they're controlling their world that way. So it's really fun to see how open they are to that.
Wow, those are masters. Those are some amazing people you've created there.
Definitely.
Thank you.
They're going to meet those other beings and bring them into our world and understand them, that altered state. You need to be in an altered state to meet these beings. So what's his name?
Oh, that my eldest son is Nakai.
Who did the 12 years old? That's
he's 12 and a half. Yeah. And then my baby is Taliesin, and he is 9 and a half.
Wow. What? Fanny, yes, hi. But what's that mean? Peace? What does that mean?
I think she's sending us peace and love.
Wow. So this is a regular group that you do here on
every Thursday.
We've been doing it every Thursday for almost 2 months now, and we have a whole variety of speakers and different subjects. We've done everything from relationships and marketing and websites to I can't even remember the last couple ones. We had all kinds of different coaches and sound healers, and how to we really want to support our community. So a lot of the people in our community are entrepreneurs, wellness providers. So we've had how they can promote their business, how they can do more of what they love, how we can support each other in doing that. So yeah, all kinds of fun stuff.
What's your goals, Shine and Crystal? I mean, what do you want to do? What do you want to manifest? What's your vision?
Thank you.
Yeah. For me, as a young child and a young adult, I began seeing the world and all the things that I loved and all the things I wished were different. And I really started to boil it down. I'm a Virgo, and I love sort of systems. And so I began to boil it down, and I thought, oh, all the bad things in the world are just people having emotional responses to things and acting from that place. And war is just people acting out of fear or revenge or whatever. And I thought, if people knew, number one, that emotions were really important and being in a happier state was good, and that number two, knew how to actually do that and knew how to access the different resources like meditation or whatever to get themselves there, then the world would be vastly different, like crazy different. It's kind of like when there's a holiday or you go to a festival and you actually say hi to people in that strangers, and it feels so, it's just so normal. Whereas in the day-to-day, you're kind of not as much all the time. And so I began to think, like, what's the most efficient way to get everyone on the planet really, really happy consistently out of their own accord? Like, how to, one, teach them that it's important, and two, help them actually find the ways. And so from that kind of searching, this vision began to form for a platform that could unite all of the different resources that people could use, whether it was free content or a paid product, service, or event, or whatever. And if we could put it all in one place and then allow people to kind of use the technology and say, oh, I'm going through this, or I'm looking for this. And then the technology could sort of guide them and say, oh, have you tried this? This is working for these people, and this could be helpful, and you should maybe try to go to this event. You could meet someone or whatever. It's sort of, I actually think of it very much like how Bashar says that, remember Bashar talking about how his planet is ruled by synchronicity, and that's the only real structure that they have in their government is synchronicity, and that over time, someone asked him, what does Earth look like in 300 years? And he said that there's this sort of there's some sort of technology and system that helps to connect people and helps with synchronicities and just supports that. And that's what I feel we're creating with Unite, is just a tool to help people manifest what they're looking for and to help them find and quickly connect to what they want. And if we were to recreate a social network or a marketplace, I don't think we would do the advertising business model where we're like listening in on what they're talking about or watching their Google searches and then trying to like resell them that thing that they might not even want anymore. It would be more of a personal relationship and a conversation of like, what are you looking for right now? How are you feeling right now? How can I support you right now? Like as if you were having a one-on-one conversation. So that, to me, that's the big focus and vision for me.
Well, that's great. No, that's totally in alignment with what I want to create. And a lot of people in our spiritual community
Amazing.
are seeing those possibilities. And we have to build that world, by changing how we think about reality and changing who we are, the awareness of who we are as limited human beings and seeing the infinite possibilities of who we are. So there's a lot of people on our team, and there's more and more each day, and we're all doing our little part. So we have to also include, I think, not just how we want to create reality. That was a big reaction to The Secret, something and manifest it. And that's great, that power. But what about, because if you just do that, you only create what you know. How do we ever create what we don't know? Mm-hmm. Also where I'm going. Let's make ourselves available, not out of fear, because fear is only what we know, but out of wonder of how can life be more wonderful, as Marshall. So you make yourself available to even more than we think is possible now.
Yeah, 100%.
You get that? Yeah. So it's both. Yeah. Let's manifest what we want, and let's manifest what we don't even know that we want. It's my problem with Tony Robbins. He's like, yeah. And it's like, Tony, slow down, relax, take a breath, stop in, and just say, what don't you know? What do you desire to know? What can you not even imagine to know? And that's the power, again, of human beings.
Yeah.
There's a practice from Abraham Hicks that I'm learning about surrendering and getting into the receiving mode. Yes. And I found that if I can stay there long enough and really sit in that receiving mode where I'll meditate and then allow my meditation to be in a surrendered state where I'm not trying to not think, as some meditations are, where you're really focused and trying to completely stop thought. I do that if I'm not feeling great, but as soon as I'm feeling okay and I can receive positive thoughts, I'll sort of let those thoughts start to permeate, and I'll allow them, and my vibration will start to rise. And eventually I'll hit this point of kind of like Neo in the Matrix, where I feel really clear and open. And then I'll actually get to talk to my higher self and I communicate like Abraham does and have these conversations and get clarity. And it just becomes this lovely, good feeling place. And I'm getting responses to questions that I wouldn't necessarily say. And so it feels like I'm talking to some other aspect of me or some other aspect. And it's just been the most lovely, and it comes from relaxation. And I can be inspired into action and inspired to be very focused and very productive, but I'm also learning to be okay when I'm not there, and to be able to relax and be able to trust that it's okay when I'm out of the vortex and not feeling good, and that from that place all I have to do is relax and rest and recharge and meditate, and I will get back to that place. And if I try and force it or push it or clear my energy or heal my trauma or like fix stuff from out of the vortex, it sort of perpetuates it and makes it worse. Whereas when I allow myself to really relax and receive, I'll be guided to move into higher states and through whatever resistances I might have in the path of least resistance, sort of effortlessly. And it's been really game changing for me.
That's great. That is the true self. That's the divine self you're tapping into. That's where we all want to go. So, you know, if you've gotten there, stay there. I mean, float in that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, we've been taught not to trust our own experiences by the mainstream, not to trust our own mind, our own perception. If you have a vision or intuition, oh, it's just your imagination. I say, no, it's a reality. Sometimes, I mean, sometimes, you know, it is whatever, but, you know, just trust yourselves. I mean, more, and you're doing it. You're doing it.
Yeah.
I was thinking today actually that there's this idea of the secret of I'm going to manifest this thing, and I'm going to da da da. And of course we can. We're physical beings. We can move things into place and manifest stuff. But the big stuff, the real like crazy manifestations that you can't really orchestrate or do, that has to happen through synchronicity and through other forces that we can't control. And I always think of like thy will be done, and I started to play with it. I'm like, well, thy will and my will be one.
Yeah.
Meaning like I want to be in tune with my soul so that my intention and my soul's intention are the same, and then it's super powerful.
That is it. Yes. I mean, what were you saying, Crystal?
Oh, I was going to add in surprise and delight. That's the piece when you were talking about creating things that we can't even imagine. And that was a piece I really got from Abraham Hicks, and from we did one of their cruises in right before COVID. And it was really fun to be in such a strong vortex for almost 2 weeks with a community that all was really like 800 people, all just really vibing in this community. And we were on our way home, and I get a little anxiety about, you know, making sure we get on airport on time and our flights. So we were really like, okay, let's pre-pave this. Let's plan in advance to energetically have a really great experience. Let's see how we can be surprised and delighted. Let's imagine all the best case scenarios. And I was thinking like we could be upgraded to first class. We could get into some lounge. We could get free food. Like we were just thinking about all these fun ways that it was going to be easy. And as we were going, the traffic was a little bit heavier than I thought, and we were getting a little bit later and a little bit later, and the anxiety started bubbling up. And every time I just, okay, surprise and delight, surprise and delight. How can this be the most amazing experience ever? And we get to the airport, and there's a bit of a line, and there seems to be a bit of a kerfuffle, and there seems to be some energetic uncertainty up there at the front desk, and the anxiety, and I keep working through, okay, surprise and delight. And we get there, and they're like, so the flight's overbooked. And I just go, boom, like, uh-oh. And they go, so we've got an offer. We can offer you 2 extra days in Barcelona, Spain for free. We will pay for your hotel. We will pay for your transportation. We will feed you. Oh, and we'll give you all this money, basically, to stay in Spain. And the way, of course, everything lined up is we hadn't ended up booking enough time in Spain. So we were feeling a little bit sad. We hadn't been able to do the things we wanted to do. Also on the cruise, there was all these excursions. And we're like, should we really spend the money? I don't know. It's a lot of money. Okay, we're just going to go in. The money is going to come. And of course, the money we received by letting go of our seats and staying 2 extra days paid exactly for all the excursions that we took. Like we were 100% taken care of. And I've never even heard, that wasn't in my conscious mind that was a possibility. I've heard of people like getting bumped on flights and you get another one a few hours later, but to stay 2 extra days and everything worked out. We didn't have to get home. My mom was able to take care of my kids. Like everything was perfect. And we just were like, it was 100% surprised and delighted. And it definitely not in my conscious mind or shines that this was even a possibility. So it was such a great example of being so high vibes, so in the vortex, so surrendering. And even that other people who had bumped their flights as well were having this very negative experience alongside us, being frustrated and challenged. And we were like, oh my God, we're paid to stay in Spain. So it was a really fun. So that for me is a great example that I live by now.
Fantastic example of manifestation. I love that. You can tell people adventures of surprise and delight. Yes.
Surprise and delight.
Just when you think, oh, you're being bumped, and it's like, and you were holding that space, even though you were late to the airport and all of that, you were holding that space.
Yeah.
That is great. I think that's how amazing we are when we hold the space of possibility.
Mhm.
And
Surrender.
possibility and trust, you know,
Surrender
you were
and trust, yeah.
saying, and that is a great, you should write that up because it's so, because it's in Barcelona actually, but it was
Oh, I love it.
to actually, great. So that's what I'm saying. When we step out of the way from what we know and ask for something bigger, it is surprise and delight. It
Mhm.
is like, even when you think things are not the best, they can turn out to be, you know, shining crystal all the way. So,
Francis, you have your hand up. How much time do you have, Alan?
how much time do you want to have? I mean, you know,
Till midnight? Till midnight?
midnight, sure. Well, how about, what, are you in Vancouver?
Yeah,
We
yeah.
are.
I'm just kidding.
We could do another like 15 or 20 minutes, something
Oh,
like
perfect,
that.
perfect.
Nice.
Francis, go ahead with your question.
Yeah, I have a question, Alan. Great talk, thank you. You started out early on, you were talking about, I'll say, humanity's preoccupation with materialism. And, you know, I'll say the lower left brain aspects as opposed to the right brain and the intuition. I was wondering what your opinion might be, your thoughts about it. I mean, most cultures have the mythology of Atlantis and the great floods. And in more esoteric writings, it's talked about how that may have come about, in the fact that humanity, beyond preoccupation, became addicted to materialism, and that humanity wasn't at the time as evolved in either the left or the right brain, we'll say, and they were more just emotionally, you know, driven. And that opened the door, as it said, to darker forces, and that the decisions were made that therefore that humanity would have to have a start over. And as we know, there would be the mythologies of Noah's Ark, but many were taken. Some were taken that were perhaps more rightfully deserving to higher places, whether it be in Himalayas or elsewhere. But my question is, to what role do you think, because it's also written in more esoteric philosophies, that the higher aspects of humanity, whether it be like the masters of wisdom, or played a role in that whole process? But to what degree do you think, because it opened the door to darker forces, to what degree do you think there are, shall we say, malevolent forces on the ET side that have interfered with humanity's evolution and tried to stake their claim?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there was an Atlantean time where there was advanced civilizations that got too into technology, and it's really reflective of where we are. We're going to go into technology and forget the earth, or are we going to make contact with this internal part of ourselves? So that part, I think definitely, especially if you watch Graham Hancock's recent show on Netflix, Ancient Apocalypse, he goes into, obviously there was a civilization that predated you know, those early aspects, way older than 10,000 years. But I think there are negative forces that keep people locked in. I think they held the matrix in place that like living for gold, it's like living for the material world. And I think that is connected to what some people call the archons. There's many names, the flyers, I think they feed off our negative emotion. They feed off of drama. They feed off of this kind of primitive emotionality. I think we're here to have emotions and feel, but when we get stuck in the addictive emotions, that is actually food for these beings that have put a kind of confining matrix around humanity that has kept them, oh yeah, I want to just manifest new cars. I mean, in this material world, and forgot the essence of the soul, which is what all the great really spiritual teachers are about. So yes, I think there may be ETs, or they may be interdimensional. Some people call them archons. You know about the archons. There's one name for them. They might be interdimensional, they might be extraterrestrial, but something has stopped our evolution. And now I think we're in a really pivotal time where we're gaining access to the greater mind. Just that story that Crystal told, that was like the power of human beings to put intent to override the old matrix. So that's really the threshold we're at. Are we going to let the forces of, I wouldn't say government, but the forces of authority control what we think is real and is possible? Or do we go into beyond what we think is possible and create a world based on love and compassion and no war? I mean, they say, people have had war for thousands of years and it's just a fact of life, but it's not, it's not. I think it's an addiction to power. And I think that's negative forces influencing people's brains, just like drug addiction are entities that of the drug that take over people's minds, like alcohol. There are spirits, they call them spirits, alcohol, because the spirits are feeding through that person. I mean, it's a little out there, but there's a guy, Paul Levy, who wrote a book called Watiko. You know that book? Watiko. And it's about this Native American understanding of these forces that drive us to our own self-destruction. And that's not really who we are, but an overlay of things that have gotten in the way of our intuitive, artistic, creative, loving capacities. So, yeah, I think it's something we're confronting and overcoming at this threshold in history.
And as you speak of that, the powers that want perhaps to control through many aspects we know, but there are also many groups like this internationally throughout the world that are influencing and raising the consciousness of humanity so that the higher beings know that, okay, the field is ripe now, for us, and we're not going to create some kind of mass, confusion and destruction, but that we can help raise. So it's like a tipping point almost that humanity can reach. And just real quick, a question. You posted earlier, lightnet.org. Is that the same as the Sedona group on consciousness? There's lightnet.org. They're out of Sedona.
Zinka is putting together LightNet, and we're putting on these little making contact groups that I'm leading the remote viewing aspect. But yeah, it's based out of Sedona, but it's online. But yeah, if you want to take my thing under lightnet.org, look for the remote viewing thing, but you can take the making contact through dreams. You can take making contact through, I think, crop circles now. There's about 8 or 9, or astrology. So there's 8 or 9.
Yeah, they focus on crop circles. They have, yeah.
But there's so many aspects. I think the most powerful one, though, is the remote viewing, because you're actually using your mind to go non-locally. So everyone can sign up there on the lightnet.org or any of the others. You could also buy my book on Amazon. But one more thing I was going to say about those negative aspects, it's like, and the groups like this are changing as a grassroots level, the consciousness of people, the fact that we can come together with this
One
collective.
mind, yes.
What did you say, Francis?
I said with the one mind, with the one identity of the higher life,
With the vision of what we have yet to create, not to go back to the past, look at the awful things that have been created, but what amazing possibilities, like a trip to Barcelona, still lie in our future, or even better than that, Crystal. But that's the start. But that's just an example of the infinite possibilities that do exist when we go into the unknown. That's what one of my teachers say. We're here to make known the unknown. Fear the unknown, because they're projecting the known onto the unknown. But the unknown is full of possibilities we have yet to imagine.
Thank you for all that. And I like that.org, and I mentioned Sedona and that. I lived in Sedona many years ago, and I won't go into some of the higher experiences I had from beyond. But it was a great place. I was drawn there.
Where do you live now?
I'm in California.
Oh, which part, northern or southern?
Well, both. Lived in Southern for a long time, and but now spending more time in Northern California, up from Sacramento, what's called the Sierra Foothills.
Like the Sierras, yeah, but it's
Yeah.
cold. I thought California was going to be warmer. It's actually
I
cold.
know it's quite a change here the last number of weeks, but it
Yeah.
looks like it's changed here today. So,
I'm going to Sedona for a big conference that people should know about. It's called the Sedona Ascension Retreats.
Mm.
We're going to be doing a remote viewing talk there, and about my book, Making Contact. I'll have copies of my book. Let me just put that in the chat.
Sedona is a magical mystery place. So it's a big subject to go into, but
It is. When were you there? Because I lived there in the 80s. And
oh, well, then we could have bumped into. I was there from Harmonic Convergence. I was drawn there after that and lived there into the 90s. We lived there.
probably know my old girlfriend Jane, who had worked at anyway. I
Yeah.
write it in my book, and we were both kind of taken together on a little adventure, ET adventure.
Wow. Have you ever heard of Landings, California, outside Los Angeles?
I mean, Landers with the
Landings. It's not.
Landers where the Tegratron is.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's the other, yeah.
That what you're talking about? The Tegratron?
Yeah, but I was drawn out there once to go camping by myself and had a very, very powerful experience. I won't go into it it was definitely from above.
Well, I produced a movie called Calling All Earthlings, which is about George Van Tassel,
Yeah.
that this star chamber, and I recommend that too. It's called Calling All Earthlings. It's the story of George Van Tassel, and he met these ETs that told him how to build this time machine, and he actually didn't get to finish it because he died mysteriously, which was strange. So anyway, that's a whole. But
We have a question from Dia in here that says, Alan, do you plan to attend the LA Wisdom Gathering on March 28th in LA?
oh yeah, I know. What's his name? Ben Boulder. But no, I'm doing another retreat in Sedona, actually called the Hollow Movement, about the work of David Bohm on the 28th. But yeah, I did see that, and a lot of my friends are going to be there. Are you going to be there, Dia? Do you want to say hello with your real voice?
My real voice. Oh, yes. Yes, I am. I have my tickets purchased, and that was my stomping grounds. My birth area was the City of Angels, Los Angeles. So it's the return.
Now, about roughly, you don't have to give us an address, but whereabouts?
We're in Los Angeles.
Los Angeles? No, where are you located now?
Oh, well, I've been living in the Alps of America, the Sawtooth Mountains in Idaho. and I lived there for 28 years and had visitations with the ships. It's quite an active area.
I was going to say Idaho is an active area. Absolutely. Yes. Well, good. Thank you. Well, want to join us for remote viewing or something, or get a book? Anybody else have a question? Anyone else want to share their contact experience? Really, that would be good.
Sorry, Dia, I just muted you because with Alan's connection, if two people are talking, his mutes. So that's why I muted you. But yeah, if anyone else has a contact experience, please go ahead.
Or more questions from you two. Okay, but maybe Monica has a something she wants. Go ahead, Monica.
Yeah. Well, I'm afraid I'm not as learned as a lot of you are in regards to this kind of thing, other than my own personal experience. And it's left me with so many questions, of course. But I've had contact, I guess you'd call it, when I was really young. And I always knew in the back of my mind, well, I didn't know. I must have tucked it away. It must have been 2 or 3 years old, and out in the country, in my bedroom, and with the grays, right? Now, about 8 years ago, I had a profound experience. It was a spiritual awakening, a spiritual transformational experience, which, well, I won't go into detail, but it left me with the gift of quite strong mediumship and spirit portrait art. I'm a professional artist and court illustrator, and I've often wondered, well, with that awakening, the memory of that experience started to come back. So I guess I kind of tucked it away. And since then, I've had experiences where, but more on a mediumship level, in readings. Believe it or not, they come through in readings. I do drawings with every readings. I'm a very strong illustrator. And I wonder, well, of course, I'm sure everybody asked this, why me? Okay. But I often wonder if though that contact and the contact that still continues, I've seen a couple of ships, if that has something to do with the STE, the gift, the awakening, if they had something to do with that. Oh, I'm sorry, you're on mute, Alan.
Sorry. All right. Yes, I would say absolutely it has something to do with that. Either you had the potential there and you were sent here possibly to deliver those gifts to the world as an ambassador in a way from those other places, because I think we have relationships before this life with these beings. And
I wondered.
That's what I think. I mean, there's no way to actually prove it. I don't have a card that says, yes, I was sent to Earth for this, but it's your feeling, it's your intuition, it's your sense. So that's because, you see, we would know this if we weren't dumbed down by the old system. This would be like, of course, how could it not be that? So this is what we're encouraging people to each other to say, yes, of course. Why are we asking those questions when it's a knowing? It's a knowing, Monica. You said a knowingness. Yes, thank you.
Yes, there's a knowing. And yet at the same time, I can hear my brain going, no, that's not possible. That can't be.
That's matrix. That's the dumbed down brain. That's the split that they have us. So we have to, and that happens in remote viewing all the time. It's like, I'm getting this image. No, it can't be it. It's like, so you have to trust this part that knows, the gnosis, and that's all of our trainings. We have to make contact with that and get over the part that says, no, it can't be, because that's the educated, logical, left brain. And we're not that. That's only half of us. And we have to trust the part that just knows without knowing how it knows, because there is no how it knows. It knows because we're infinite. We're connected to infinite awareness. So when you know, there's no way of understanding how you know except for the fact that you just do, so yes.
As a songwriter myself, I began to just hear music and download songs in my 20s, and it was such a phenomenon. Like, it was such a thing that I feel like happened to me, where all of a sudden I was just like hearing beautiful music and lyrics, and I just started to record it and write it down. And whenever I would start to like try and write it or be like fancy or whatever, it would stop. And if I ever tried to write a song the way that you would think you go down pen to paper and write a song, it was such garbage. It sounded so brutal and contrived. And whenever I would just go for walks and be happy in nature, and this song would just come pouring through, and it was beautiful poetry that I couldn't write. Like, it was so lovely, and like, wow, like how did that happen? And that for me was such a good visceral experience of, and now I'm learning to do that in business. Because when I started with business, I was like, oh, gotta make my things and my plans, and here's my 12 steps, I gotta do my things. And now I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna get in the vortex, I'm gonna receive. Okay, what feels exciting, what feels interesting, let's go with the flow. That's the thing. Okay, let's work on that, and just trust that. And that was for me really good, because as an artist yourself, Monique, you'll know that if you try to do it, and if you're not in a good space, it just sucks. It's not good. But when you are inspired and you just do it, it's so clear and it's so beautiful, and it's beyond. That's when the art becomes more than because you're getting it from somewhere else.
That's the world we're creating, Shine. That's the world we're manifesting, with that allowing that freedom. That's freedom. That's the gift. That's, a lot of songwriters have that, Did you ever read that biography of Keith Richards, who's probably the most unspiritual person you could imagine?
No.
But his manager comes in, it's in somewhere in the book, he calls it life, and he says, everyone's writing their own songs. I'm going to lock you and Mick in a room, and you're not going to come out until you write a song. That's the only way you guys are ever going to be good. So they're sitting in the room, and Keith just writes, it is the hour of the day. And Mick writes, I sit and watch the children play. And then Keith says, I started to hear this music in my head and more songs, and it just poured out of me, and it was like magic. And this is a guy, done drugs his whole life and whatever, but he tapped into that flow, which all of us have access to, because it's feeding us every moment, and we're just trying to make it happen when it's actually happening. So yeah, it's I love
it so much.
But I should go soon. I
Yes,
should go.
yes.
Yeah.
I want to have you on again. This was too fun.
Anytime, I'm here for you guys, or for all of us. I mean, we're all in this together, including Fanny. Thank you, Fanny.
Thank you so much for your inspiration. You're amazing. You're an extraordinary human. We've been studying and learning from you, your wisdom in the Global Peace Tribe. And nowadays, Vigari and I, we are watching on Gaia. Last night, we watched the Chariot of the Gods. Amazing. How come we don't have this in our schools? And it's just a beautiful way to connect with all of you, to connect to our true family, to our true tribe. So thank you for being alive and to make me feel as a wonderful child, because I too, when I was little, I was in the woods, and I remember being by myself in this immense wood, like I was maybe 6 years old. And then poof, 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 like you see now on these real show where you see the ships coming in. So I'm there, this little girl, and then I see that it always stayed with me. And then this little girl became such intuitive beamer music I always followed my spirit, and my life is like a fairy tale, a magical. And yeah, last night we watched again David Avocado Wolf, and David says, you know, his motto is every day is the best day ever. And I really like this motto. So this morning I woke up and I said, this is the best day ever. And it is. We are creating our reality with our light, with our joy, and knowing we don't know everything. How could that be better? The dream, you say, what is your dream? What is a dream that I can actually not see, but it's there? So thank you for your wisdom. And I wish I'd been in California, but we are in Vancouver.
Word of the gods. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That's really nice. But how about you, Karen? Do you say something about how you got into this?
Kaisa.
Oh, yeah, she's got Karen on.
Oh, what's her name? Wait,
Kaisa.
what is it? Kaisa?
Kaisa.
Yeah.
Oh, Kaisa. Yeah, talk about how you raised your daughter and that kind of flow, connection.
And her 5 siblings.
And her 5 siblings. Yes. How did you do that? Why did you do that? Why did you even think of doing that?
And when you see her, she's like 5'2", 90 pounds. Like, how did you do that?
Why did you do it?
I had unusual rebellious parents, and school didn't make sense. It didn't make sense to how I was in connection with my children. It didn't make sense. Yeah.
Right. And I'm sure you've had spiritual experiences too, right?
Yeah. Actually, it's a bit of a different. I started out, unfortunately, my father had a very dark side. As I've gone into it, I know reptilians. I'm not sure, but so he hurt me terribly through my childhood and early teenage years. And so I didn't actually remember really or acknowledge till I was 48. And when I started to remember, I also remembered all these incredible experiences, not ET as such, but with angels and fairies and Jesus and on and on and on. And I held the light. I just you can do whatever you want to my physical, but you don't got the me. And that this was already at the age of 1 or 2. And I would argue with the soul. And I remembered all that when in my late 40s, and I went, wow. So, and I had a lot of spunk, because I also argued when, because you're out of your body all the time in happy places, because you don't want to be in your body when that stuff is going down. And I went, I'm not going back. I don't want to go back to this. And they said, yeah, we hear you. And of course you have a choice, but this was part of the plan, a part of the agreement. And so I went, okay, I guess I'll go back. So there was some reluctance and resistance around that, but I also can relate to the people who have had abductions and went, but I've changed my mind.
Right.
I don't want this anymore. So yeah, there's been some stuff to work through.
Thank you. You're in Canada too, right? You're all up there. Mostly,
Yeah.
Is this a BC group here?
Yeah, mom lives with us here in White Rock.
Nice. Well, maybe I'd love, are you in Vancouver?
Yeah, just outside of Vancouver. Yeah.
Maybe I'll come up at some point. I don't know, but
Yeah,
we-
February 16th is our next big event. And if
February 16th?
Yeah.
What event is that?
We're hosting a full day. It's our first really big one back since COVID. We rent a beautiful, gorgeous wooden church, and we are doing, I think it's almost an 18-hour day, is it?
No.
Something ridiculous.
yeah,
Over 12 hours. No, it's
8 a.m. to 11 p.m.
It's
a
8
big
a.m.
day.
to 11 p.m., but you don't have to stay for the whole thing. And we're basically doing everything from different speakers and workshops and yoga, sound healing, cacao, cosmic sacred dance, with speed healing in the middle, which is a whole bunch of different healers come together and everyone gets little mini sessions to try out different modalities. So yeah, it's a full day community experience.
See if you do one in May or
I love that.
possibly that with June, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's book it and we'll get you to present and it'll be a whole beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Scott Katamas is coming, I think that's how you say his last name. He's coming up for the February and he's going to do his presentation.
Yeah, Scott's an old friend. That's great. And I've really enjoyed everyone here and you guys, and thanks for inviting me to
Thank
be
you.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining in, even though you didn't know what we were up to.
we're all, as Ramdas says, we're all just walking each other home, right?
Yeah.
You have in your picture, you look a little bit like Doc Brown from Back to the Future. Yeah, you remind me of that energy of like the scientist and the
Going back to the future. Thank both from my book. They can get my book. They can see me in Sedona. They can look at my YouTube channel. I'll put that in. That's youtube.com/NewRealities.
We'll share all that in the show notes as well when we put it on YouTube.
And thanks for that. And let me just put, I'll just put New Reality. Yeah, I'm happy to do a conversation. And it's great to have JJ have jumped in there. He's a pioneer in the field. So, well, it's great. Thanks. Just reach out. Let's stay in touch. Thanks for all the preparation and all the
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yay.
Thank you so much. So much love to you. This was lovely and amazing energy, amazing work in the world. Congratulations. And yeah, just so many blessings. Let's plan for I always say that when I'm 80 or whatever, I want to have a big gathering on a spaceship or some sort of space, cruise, and I'll hang out and look down and say, wow, we did it. Like, look at this amazing world, it's thriving. Look at our connection to our extraterrestrial ancestors and cousins and friends. And yeah, I'm excited for that.
That world's right here. You can be excited right now.
Man.
Get excited now. It's happening.
Oh, I am.
Yeah.
Thanks, Shine, Crystal, everyone. I'll see you soon. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, everyone, for coming. Welcome to hang out a bit, and if anything to share or any questions, feel free.
Yeah, if anyone has any projects that are coming up, if you want to know more about the Unite platform, if you want to know about some of our lovely upcoming events, and we've got some nice speakers booked for upcoming live streams. Ooh, we have a special edition on Wednesday. We're actually going to be on the Awakened World show. It's a show. I think I always get confused, but I think podcast means audio only.
Yeah.
And we're going to be, it's on a web show, The Awakened World. Are you sharing the screen so they can see? Nice. Yeah, with some amazing speakers teaming up together. There we are. And yeah, so this is coming up on Wednesday, January 25th at 6 p.m. You'll be able to find all the links on Unite. So we've got Nick Bro, we've got Deidre, Tad from Marketing for Hippies, Mike Reed from SoundQuest, and our lovely hosts of the Awakening World, Scott and Trish. So yeah, it's going to be a super fun show.
Yeah, very fun. And then this is our this is the banner for the February 16th event.
Yeah.
which is going to be really fun. We've got a full day planned with the morning is all workshops and beautiful alignment flow state stuff. And the evening is all sound and dance and cacao and breath and lots of fun. So
Yeah. And if anybody's got a community and they want to invite their community, we would so appreciate your support. We're doing affiliates, so you can make a little money or pay for your ticket. And that really helps us out. And it's our intention to host as many events. We love events. And our number one piece that's hardest with the events is just the marketing. So if you want to do the marketing for us, we'll host more events. So yeah, anytime you want to share, let us know. You can either just share the link, or if you want an affiliate, it's super easy to get that and then share that with the community. And
Arnie, come do some
yeah,
psychic.
I would love to. And I was looking at the February 16th, but I'm actually going to be out of town. So
yeah, we'll get you
there, but definitely in the future, we should do something fun.
I had a lovely reading with Parneet. She's a psychic,
Yeah.
medium, both
Medium.
and it was just so lovely. She's got such a nice ability
thank
to,
you.
to tune in. Yeah, I really love that.
Parneet's been a faithful vendor for many of our events
Yeah.
for a long going way back. So yeah.
Yeah, I was actually talking about it today, and I said, oh, I remember I used to do stuff with you guys, and that
Yeah.
was fun. So yeah, definitely I'm more open to it this year than I
Yeah.
have been. So, probably after February, I'm sure, we can talk about something.
Exciting. Yeah, it's our hope to do one a month at least. So yeah, it's gonna be
Great,
fun.
thank you.
Yay.
Yes, and yeah, Fanny, let's chat for future events. It'll be so fun.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, we've got Scott coming for February. We'll get Alan in May or June.
Yeah.
And what a fun event that'll be.
Yeah, and please, I mean, we make these events for the community, and of course we pick, we put some of our favorite people in there, but we are also super excited to hear who your favorite people are, who you would love to speak or present or do workshops. And yeah, we want to
It's
build
fun.
this together.
It's fun now that we've had 2 people for this February event who live in California or wherever say, oh, I'll fly myself up and I want to present, I want to do something. And so it's fun. It feels like we're opening up to having a more global audience, and that people are just they just want to hang out and share, and they're willing to pay for their own travel and come and stay here and do a thing. It's so wild. It's like, okay, let's get a broader, global audience, and then we're going to live stream it too. Scott has done such an amazing job with Global Peace Tribe.
Yeah.
And he's got this whole network of places he streams to. So we'll be live streaming at least the morning part of the show. And
it really is such a fun space and such a fun venue that we can have. I think it's got like a 300 person capacity, and we normally have a couple hundred people throughout the day, and it just makes it such a fun vortex, and to really be able to have that kind of large group of lots of our practitioners are like, wow, I've never done a cacao ceremony with like 150 people before, or 200 people. So it really creates such a fun energy. And then we always leave lots of space in our events for the community to connect and hang out and socialize, because of course, as much as the offerings are super fun, we know that's all the best part anyways, just to get to hang out and hug everyone and see everyone and smiles and love. And yeah, so fun.
Anything anyone wants to share, any upcoming projects you want to share a little bit about your work or whatever, or just any questions, feel free. That was so fun. I was giddy running up and down the stairs to Kaisa, like, oh, only 1 more hour until they're talking about aliens. Oh, only 15 minutes.
I feel so energized. I feel so energized to be even brighter than I ever been. I feel, because I've always been the bright star child here in the Lower Mainland, always. And now I feel I want to be even brighter, like so bright, because the world needs this brightness to become in balance and I feel so inspired to speak the truth and awaken the world, and be the star people that we are. Let's shine our loving light wherever we are, and shine our love and be the best people we can be on this earth right now. And so it is. And thank you for your inspiration and your love and your wisdom and your creating. All this is just beautiful for Vancouver, because in California they know how to rock. There's Mount Shasta, there's all these places where they're rocking and they're doing all sorts of spiritual events, and it just really rocks California, the United States, but mostly California. And here in Vancouver, I think there's not much going on, and I think you're it, and you're starting something that is really taking off. You are really doing a global peace tribe here in Vancouver, baby. So thank you, you two. Thank you for being alive and sharing your wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's really, that's lovely to hear. And it's funny to me because I feel like Vancouver is such an open, receptive community in a way, but it is also a very shy community, which is funny. And maybe that's just my projection, because I feel like that's what I've kind of been a little more reserved, but I feel like a lot of people find that it's hard to connect with people in Vancouver. Everyone's very busy. Everyone's kind of got their little clubs and their cliques and their places that they're doing their things. And what we keep hearing from everybody is how do I meet people? Where do I meet people like you? Where do I meet the conscious people? How do I date? Where do I find other people to date? Where do I find business partners? Where do I find this space? So yeah, that's just something that 100% is our passion, is just to create the spaces, whether it's online like this or in person, where we get to light each other up and charge each other up. And there are so many people, that are like you, Fanny, and just we're all wanting to be the light, the brightest light we can be. And sometimes it's really helpful to be around other lights and light each other up. And it just the growth is so exponential. It's really rewarding, and it's really rewarding for Shine and I. And it's been quite a transition for the last couple of years, not being able to do events. We've really had to resource ourselves to find ways to light ourselves up and fill ourselves up without that kind of community piece, because we haven't had that. And I think it's been so healthy for us, because it's really we're coming back way stronger than we were before, because we really are charged up to bring this even more into the world.
This is what we did over.
And I think the world is ready for us to shine and for Unite to shine the light, because have you heard now the folk festival is being bonked? Yes. And so many of our festivals here in Vancouver has been bonked. And for me as an artist is very, it's a big downer, because that's what I thrive on, is events, and to share the energy and to share the music and to share the gifts that we have to share for events and celebrations. So now we need to reunite, and we need to rewrite the script.
Make our own folk fest.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, we're calling this next event Unite Fest.
Yeah.
And I would love to take over that spot at that big beautiful park.
Jericho.
Yeah, but they're quitting because everything has risen, like all the money for this and the money for that, and now the vendors and all this, all that. All the bureaucracy is killing everything.
And will we really get that? And that's what, I mean, it always is the way that it's not easy to do these things. It's not easy. It takes a lot of heart and it takes a lot of energy. And the people behind it can sometimes carry it for a little while, and then it gets burnt out, and things change and prices and things, and it's just not able to continue. And as sad as it is, it also gives us a really big opportunity to step up and step in, and people are like, oh, well, they're doing it, so we don't have to. And I really feel like that's a piece that Shine and I have really embraced, where it's like, if we don't do it, who will? And it's, I think it's a greater and greater message for us that we don't have to do it alone. And that's the piece. Our events are a lot of work, and we've burnt ourselves out, and we're really getting this time around. We don't have to do it alone. There's people who want to support, and the same, with our own version of Unite Fest and doing a big 3-day thing in a park. Like, we won't do it alone, and we'll get the community and we'll
Like they do in Costa Rica, they're doing the big yoga festival in February. So instead of going to Costa Rica, let's do something here in Vancouver. And
I support this.
yeah, so all this is bringing birth to new ways for us to shine and to be more into the spirit of the nature and light, and to really bring our wisdom of the heart, the wisdom of love.
Yeah. Yay.
Does anyone have any juice they want to share? I would love to get a quick feedback on the Unite platform, but I'd love to hear from you first if you have anything.
No.
Nothing yet.
Okay.
That's okay.
Shine's going to show you all our babies. So this is what we did while we were taking a break from events and going inner and creating basically what we attempt to create in our in-person live events, creating it online. So like Shine shared a little bit earlier, wanting to create a space where it's more intuitive, where everyone comes, especially to Shine in Vancouver. They all know that Shine knows everyone, and they say, where do I go to for this? And where do I go to for that? And he makes a post on Facebook and tags people, and everyone gets all the information they need. And then next week, someone asks the same question. He has to go find the information again. And we really want to gather all that information in one spot. So this is where you can find all the conscious events. You'll be able to find all the uplifting people in your area, be able to support them. I would always rather support someone doing good in the world rather than just whoever's got the biggest Facebook ad or got the, billboard or whatever advertising. And so, yeah, so Unite is free and ad free. And the way we're doing the revenue model is we're going to do it like Airbnb, where if we do good for you and you make a sale through the platform, we'll take a percentage in the middle, but otherwise you don't have to pay to play. So yeah, there's a little bit of Unite. Go to www.unite.love. It's still in its baby mode, so there's still glitches. Please, 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 if you have a minute to check it out and share with us what felt easy and fun, what felt a little bit hard and could be updated. And we're going to keep working on that and building that into a really lovely collective space. And the main thing we need right now is just people using it so that we can get to a point where we have enough people for it to be really valuable, where we're getting to really support the people that need support and everyone to find the community. And mostly it's a lot of Vancouverites right now, although we do have how many countries on Unite right now? 90 countries. And how many businesses?
We've got just over 1,900 businesses, and a third of those, or just over 1,900 members, and a third of those are businesses.
Yeah. So there's a little community growing there, a little baby, and we really have put so much love into the platform, so much intention into every aspect of it, and really wanting to create a space that feels amazing and feels like home. And energetically, it's been built with love from the ground up. So send it some love.
The main vision and intention and mission for Unite is to help connect people to things that are uplifting and are personalized in the moment of, what will that person want right now to help them feel better, whether it's a funny video or a connection to someone else or, an event that's coming up. And in order for that to really happen at scale, we need to just get a lot of people using it, people and businesses and all that stuff. And we want it to be kind of like Airbnb, where when we had our basement suite for rent, and when we put it up on Airbnb, we didn't have to sell it or market it or post it on Facebook. It just sold itself because people were already looking for it. And we want Unite to be like that, where it's the place that people know, oh, if you want to go to a conscious event or find, the healthy cafe or find eco-friendly furniture or whatever.
Or find a medium.
Yeah, find your tribe. That's where you go. And so once there's enough people looking and once there's enough businesses on there, it can just have this organic thing where businesses don't have to do any selling anymore unless they want to, and marketing. And for people, they don't have to post on Facebook, get 50 responses, research, try to figure out which one's good, and then spend hours sometimes looking for the right thing and trying out different ones. They can just get a curated list of what's the top massage person for you in Vancouver based on all of your preferences and all the ratings and reviews and all this kind of stuff. So in order to get to that point, we have to find something that will be inspiring enough and exciting enough that people will want to use it and share it. And the thing that we're thinking could be that is the love stream, which is what we're going to be on for our future shows. We're just fixing a little bug, but it'll be exactly like this, and anyone can go live at any time, and anyone can join in to those lives, and it'll be kind of like a living room, a space where people can have conversations and host events and just do cool stuff online. So that's one of the next things we're rolling out. But we'd love, if you have any thoughts now or later, we'd love to hear from you in terms of like what little thing would you love to have in your life or business, and what could Facebook or Instagram or Amazon or whatever do better, and that you wish would be there. So really open to feedback.
Yes, we're open to be surprised and delighted with the platform and with how we can best support. And we have ideas, but it really does help to hear from everyone what makes social media hard and what makes it easy, and how we can incorporate that. We're really excited for it to feel like if you go on a dating site, not that I've been on many, but and you say, you know, I'm looking for this in this city, and then to get your match in the same thing, I'm looking for a massage in Vancouver, this is my price range, this is the location I'm looking for, I want this day, this time, this type of massage, male, female, like very specific, to the point where it's like it's really knowing, and to a point where we are really stating our preferences and being able to sift and sort that way, instead of just who has the highest rating, who has the 5-star rating. And that's where we're really going to be counting on our community to share your feedback about each other. When you've had a session with someone, Shine would be able to do a lovely testimonial for Parneet and be able to say, this is what I loved about her, this is what she was really good at. So then when someone else comes on and they say, I want a medium who's good at these things, then Parneet will be the obvious choice, and we'll be able to, of course, vote everything up and down as well. So yeah, baby's growing.
Yeah, it's out of the womb, and it's crawling around,
paddling around. It's a huge project.
It's moving,
and it's one of the many pieces that we're working on. For any of you who don't know our kind of big vision, we see Unite having 3 corners. That's the logo with the triangle there, the 3 pieces. One of them is events, one of them is technology, and the other is spaces. And we really want to create Unite centers and communities, hubs, both eco-villages and city community spaces, where we get to do this, but in person, and where we don't host an event for one day, but there's somewhere to go every day. So yeah, we've got a lot that we're birthing and bringing into the world, and we're super excited. Please connect us with anybody that you feel like could be a useful collaborator. We're very not attached to being the ones who are leading it or having to do a large stake in it. We're just really excited to bring these pieces to the world, and if we do all of it, we do all of it, and if we get to collaborate with amazing people, that's even more fun. So yeah, connect us, share your contacts, let us know who's awesome, come play.
lovely to connect with people who have done similar things, who could be mentors.
Yeah,
we're looking for really conscious investors who can really get this vision and want to be a part of it and support it. And well, even smaller investors, kind of like a crowdfunding thing. So super excited.
Yeah,
thanks everyone for your presence and space tonight. It's so fun. Happy if you have anything you want to share, and if not,
do we have anyone lined up for next Thursday?
Next Wednesday is the thing.
Yeah, are we doing a Unite show on
we might
Thursday?
do a thing with all of the participants from the
On next
event.
Thursday?
We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, stay
And
tuned.
then next Thursday we've got Ken Lewicki, who is a channeling teacher, and he's going to be talking about channeling and how you can channel, and last time I did a show with him, he actually got me into the channeling mode, and I was talking to my dad and having a good old time. So he's lovely. He's a really amazing teacher. And then I'm not sure what we have after that. And then we've got I don't know. We've got people booked until like March 2nd. If you have any other ideas of people who you'd love to see, on the show, please connect us and send them. And yeah, we'd love to connect with people for the Unite show.
Yay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Mhm.
This has been so much fun. We will share the replay if you want to rewatch, or if you just tuned in late and you want to catch it again, it will be on YouTube shortly. And yeah, you can check out the previous shows as well. So thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Have a beautiful evening, and we'll see you next week.
Mhm. This is so
Thank
lovely.
you. Bye.
Thank you. So
Ciao.
much. Aw.
Love it.
Aw,
Good night.
thank you.
So sweet.
So
Aw.
sweet. No, very nice.
I like it. Mm.
Mm,
Good idea.
thank you.
So
Arrive early, stay late. Bye.
100%.
I love it.
100%. Get all the juice. We always do that as well. Yeah.
So beautiful.
Aw, thank you.